Hello, this is Tal, and I'm here with Christina.
Hi.
And today we're going to talk about dealing with guilt of being a Western expat or traveler in a poor country. So, just to give you some background on me, I was raised in Canada, but my parents come from Belarus and Moldova. And I spent the majority of my time traveling through Southeast Asia and Southeast Europe or the Balkans, where there's a very clear disparity between uh, my income level and other people such as myself who are working remotely for foreign companies and earning a living online versus the Thai or the Balkan locals. And Christina has a very unique perspective as well. She is from Serbia, but also part of this remote working digital movement of people who work online and live in Southeast Asia or Southeast Europe. So, Christina, please introduce yourself.
Yes, I come from Serbia, and originally I'm from a very small town in the far east of Serbia that doesn't have a lot of opportunities. So I will always try to make the best of it and trying to find remote jobs because I love to travel, and I traveled firstly around Balkans and Europe, and after some while, I traveled to like mm, around Turkey, this part of Asia, and now I'm in Southeast Asia.
Awesome. So, we're going to explore firstly what it feels to be a long-term expat in a poor country. Um, I experienced a lot of guilt when it comes to this because ever since I was really young, like 6 years ago when I was 21, I guess, I started traveling. And on one hand, everything is so nice. Life is amazing in countries where everything is cheap. And when it comes to Thailand, for example, so much of the economy is built around people like me. It's so easy to travel. Everything is in English. To find a bus, you can book things online. To find food, you can have not only local amazing food, but also European food and other Asian food, and like everything is very comfortable and very set up to be uh, a foreigner living a nice life in these countries. But what a lot of people are blind to, and for me, it's not so easy to close my eyes to the realities of what life is like outside of that bubble, is that due to a lot of inequalities, both political and because of economic differences and things like that. The locals are not thriving in these countries compared to where I'm from in Canada, let's say. Not to say that everybody has a great life in Canada. Of course, there's a lot of issues there as well. But if I am driving on a motorbike around Thailand, the things that I see when it comes to poverty, when it comes to the way that people live, is very shocking. And it's very different than driving around any part of Canada, for example. Um, and so there are a lot of these differences that are easy to ignore. But I want to dive deep into it and see what we feel as two people with somewhat different backgrounds who live surrounded by both a really nice life, but also a lot of signs of poverty and how hard it is for the locals. So, Christina, what is your opinion with it, and what's your relationship with the surroundings around you, especially coming from Serbia, traveling? Um, yeah.
While I was in the Balkans, I didn't have uh, a feeling of being different in the sense of having more economical monetary power, or being um, able to afford more stuff and have an easy life. The first time I felt it was when I moved to Turkey, actually, and it was in contact with the local people that became my friends. Um, they were living fairly nice lives, but I could see they were struggling because they really had to like calculate how to spend their money and not to spend so much, and they had like two jobs. And I see that in Thailand as well, where people are working 12 hours 7 days a week. And even though like for me on the surface, like driving around and stuff, so far I haven't noticed it because maybe I was in more touristic places where it's more leveled, I guess, or more hidden. But with contact with local people, I really do feel this difference, and I feel their struggle, and it does make me feel guilty, and it does make me feel like I want to do something about it and change it. But the question is, what can we do and how much?
No, absolutely. That's a difficult question. We'll touch upon that in this
Yeah.
video. But I was wondering, what does it feel like living in paradise while people from your country have it quite hard now with, both what's going on economically in Serbia and also with, the cold and the pollution? So I could share what I feel because I've spent a lot of time in Serbia and my friends back there, they have it quite hard now. And it's hard for me to maintain friendships with them while I'm living in Thailand because there's a lot of envy there. I feel like a lot of them wish that they were able to do this
Mm,
as well. A lot of people don't realize how cheap it is to live this lifestyle in Southeast Asia, but also if you're, have rent or financial obligations, it's not so easy to hop on a flight, be in a different part of the world, and kind of leave all of those financial obligations back there. um, but yeah, so Christina, how does it feel like to be in Thailand?
yeah.
Well,
Well, for me, it's amazing, of course, and it's true. I don't spend that much money actually. I'm lucky that I have an opportunity to work online and have an income that can support this lifestyle. Um, but when I think of my family or my friends in Serbia, I kind of feel like I have to stop my enthusiasm a bit, like tone it down, because I don't want to produce these feelings of jealousy or envy, or, I don't want to rub it in, if they're having a bad time there. But in the same time, if I was in the same situation, I would feel happy for my friends that they can, you know, have this lifestyle and enjoy paradise. But um, I think that's a very idealistic approach, and it does get to me often
yeah, I
when I
agree.
see it. So, um, mm, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But there's nothing much we can do about it, right? Um, Depends like how people, what kind of relation you have with the people, and what kind of personality they have. And if they want the same, I'm always there, like to tell them how they can do it, and like telling them, okay, visit, it's cheap and stuff. But financial obligations are the main problem that people
yeah,
have, that's stopping
yeah.
them from this lifestyle.
No, absolutely. And a really interesting thing to kind of explore is the fact that, like, I believe and you believe as well, we previously spoke about this, is that as individuals, we're not as much a part of the problem as a lot of the inequality and systematic issues. And at the same time, the locals are not at fault for being in the economic positions they are because of something that they've done. Or there's this idea in the West that, some countries are lazier or some people are lazier and that's why they're poor. Or we're rich because we are so smart and, are so productive. All of that, I believe, is not true at all because a lot of the issues that make some countries richer and some countries poorer are inequalities, are exploitations, are a lot of even historical, um, you know, things such as colonialism that really affected how some countries were able to get richer while others, had a lot of their wealth exported or, be stolen from them. And at the same time, when it comes to governments and corruption, in the West, especially in Europe and in Canada, let's say, we have a democratic system that tries to work for the people, and we have a way to participate in the democracy, or at least it feels that way. And in places like Thailand, or I hear a lot about Latin America, for example, there's so much corruption. There's so much um, wealth that gets distributed into the 1% and not within the whole populations, that that is the real problem that is causing people to be in such poverty. And yeah, as individuals, like, of course, we'll talk after this about, like the impacts that we have when we travel to places, bringing money or gentrification, things like that. But that's not truly the main issue. That's not why some people are in a better economic standard and other people are not. So, what is your opinion on this, Christina?
Um, yeah, I think we as tourists and as travelers uh, have this individual impact that will talk about later. But we can look at tourism as well as a systematic thing and as an economical and political entity as well. Um, and I agree what you said with this with corruption being one of the main things and unequal distribution, because I've seen it in the Balkans a lot as well and here. So mm, yeah, I don't know what what can we do about it.
Yeah.
There's um, for sure there can be some reforms or some movements, and um, we can try to do what we can in our like immediate like in our vicinity. Like what can we do practically in our everyday lives to help the locals and help the economy of the place that we're in. But I don't believe it's our responsibility, and uh, I don't believe it's, as you said, like people's responsibility that they don't have the monetary power as some people visiting from richer countries do. Um, but yeah, as in the same manner, we can uh, introduce some I don't know rules or laws, but I don't think it would be possible because it doesn't benefit those more affluential people that are living, especially long term, in countries that are a bit poorer. Because you know we're talking about the housing crisis in Serbia and also in Copagan now. Like if we were in this situation that we have an opportunity to like make more money, we would do it, right? I mean, I don't know about you personally, but if it's a business opportunity, we could take not advantage of it because that is bad, but just take the opportunity to earn more money. But in the same time, it's some people like become greedy, I believe, and it can drive out locals, as I know happen, especially and probably here. Um, but in the same time, I think that having more tourists and more expats can create more jobs for the local people, and it can also um, like have a positive effect as well as it's like kind of controlled by some moral or like I don't know uh, legal agreements.
Yeah, like when I think of the impact of tourism, I see the good and the bad. The good is that it's bringing a lot more jobs into economies. The money has a like multiplier effect, which basically means that if I give money to this lady can then buy things in the shop, and then the shop has more money to buy other things from the supplier. So that money can, at least if it's given to an individual and not a, organization like 7-Eleven, then it has opportunity to trickle into the economy more, things like that. But at the flip side, the dark side of a lot of tourism, especially in one area, is that gentrification happens. It makes things much more expensive, both real estate, and housing prices, and also the cost of goods, the cost of restaurants as well. A lot of expat areas might have Italian and French and Turkish and, you know, uh, Mediterranean restaurants that are not accessible for the local people who maybe even work in those restaurants or live in that area. So it creates this like unattainable class of people who enjoy some things that the locals can't enjoy. But as you said, I don't think it's our responsibility as tourists, even if we do end up staying long term somewhere, like become an expat or digital nomad, because as a digital nomad, I am not the one individually who is causing these problems. I might be part of this massive wave that's creating this difference, but the most interesting thing that we can talk about, I think, and to end this video, is what we can do to have slightly less of an impact to create this gentrification process that we see, or just what we can do to, make life a bit better for the locals. And some ideas that I had about that is trying to support local businesses more than larger corporations. For example, in a lot of places, there's a 7-Eleven, which is super convenient. I'm guilty of going there for a lot of things, but there are also some
Yeah, me too.
family-owned shops. Yeah, there's family-owned shops. There's also like little local markets. There's other places where we can buy the same or similar products that will directly benefit the people selling them. So there's that. Also, when it comes to, let's say, organizing tours or buying transportation, we can go online and find some company that has a nice English website that's doing it, or we can go to a local tour agency, or even ask, in a hotel, if it's a little family-owned hotel, if they know of any places to support more locally, that way. Another thing that I was thinking about is potentially finding a charity or an organization that's having some sort of change. For example, in Kopangan, there's some organizations that help Burmese people, the Burmese workers. There's others that help stray animals on the island. And there's a third that helps with waste management, and they donate money to try to get waste off of the island and educate locals on how to better manage waste instead of just burning it. So that's, a few examples in the local areas. What I think is not the most helpful is giving money directly to beggars, especially if you see ones that are using children to try to buy your sympathy or empathy. And a lot of the reasons behind that is because of these ring of beggars that a lot of places in the Balkans and also in Southeast Asia has. I A lot of locals told me that if you see a beggar on the street, it most likely isn't that they are just, collecting money for themselves to live, but they're part of an organized ring of beggars that have a monopoly over pretty much begging in touristy areas. Of course, like, use your judgments. If you see someone who's really struggling and you feel for them and they don't seem like they're part of an organized ring of beggars, of course, it's not, bad to give money to people in need. Um, but that's something to, keep out, keep an eye out for, especially given that there are charities and organizations that, if managed well, can have better impact to actually help those in need, and distribute food or basic supplies and things like that.
I think these are very practical solutions, yeah. And I think feeling guilty doesn't benefit anyone. So instead of being guilty, you can take an initiative if you have time and will to do something, and enjoy your life while you're helping others, or at least try not to make it worse.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. So thank you so much for watching until the end. If you like videos like this, subscribe to our channel. We also have a Facebook group where we have a community of like-minded people traveling, through Southeast Asia, Southeast Europe, and hope to catch you in the next video. Ciao.